Good evening, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma, and this is our weekly editorial roundup. I hope all of you are doing really good today. Am I clearly visible and audible, everyone? Good evening. Can you hear and see me very clearly, everybody? If you could quickly confirm that, we shall start with our today's discussion on various articles that I bought from various editorials. Articles that you should be reading and articles where reading comprehensions can be framed, which will improve your understanding, vocabulary, multiple things. Hi Dharmi, good evening. Can you hear and see me clearly? If you could confirm that. Yes, okay. So clearly visible and audible. Okay. Now guys, I have bought two very interesting articles today. In fact, I had actually a confusion. I had three articles and I had to choose two out of them. So, and then I realized, why don't we increase the frequency of these classes so that I don't have to carefully choose between the articles. So good news, May 1st week onwards, the frequency of the classes would increase. Okay. Now, what articles have I bought today? But before that, let's see what are we going to do in the class. Every week when we meet on Wednesday, 8 p.m., what do we do? So we have two articles that I bring from various editorials, and we'll see what the sources of these articles are. We take out vocabulary from these sources. We try to memorize the vocabulary. In the end, you comment under my video and tell me what's the tone of the author. That's your homework that you're supposed to do. And we try to draw a lot of inferences, find out the summary, find out the tone, find out vocabulary, and we try to solve many questions through the passages that we solve. So that's what the agenda of our class is going to be. Hi Roosters, good to see you back. So that is what our agenda of the class is going to be. All the people who've joined me for the first time, I hope you get what we're going to do in the class. So are we ready with the vocabulary of the class? So let's start. Hi Bhushan, we're going to start with the vocabulary, ठीक है? Expect मैं आपसे क्या करूंगी? If you know the synonyms, if you know the antonyms of these words, you could suggest them so that the list is longer that we have. Okay? So longer list के लिए synonyms and antonyms चाहिए मुझे आप लोगों से. Spoon feed मैं कर दूंगी तो फिर आप क्या करोगे, है ना? I'll give you words, you give me synonyms and antonyms. So this is the first slide. I've got three slides today. So this is the first slide that we have for vocabulary. The first word is conduct. Conduct is how you behave. Your behavior, your mannerism, in a specific situation is your conduct. So her conduct was not good when you say that. That means she possibly did not behave properly. Okay. They were arrested for disorderly conduct. That is not acceptable, bad conduct. They were arrested for that. So conduct is your behavior in a specific situation. That's what your conduct is. When you have a bad conduct in a court, you are possibly the judge is going to throw you out of the court. That's what your conduct is. Okay. That's hi Ravi. Good to see you here. That's the first word of the class. Okay. Got that everyone? Conduct किसी का behavior होता है situation में कैसे behave करता है कोई. Let's have a look at the next word. Word number 2. Coerce. In Hindi किसी से कोई काम करवाना डरा के धमका के. In English, when you make somebody do something for you, but they don't do it pleasingly. They do it by you make them do it by using force or threat. That is coerce. Okay, so coercion, I'm sure आपने पढ़ा होगा while you were reading. If you had commerce, I'm sure आपने coercive measures पढ़ा होगा. If you've been reading newspapers regularly, I'm sure आपने coercion पढ़ा होगा. Yes, so using threat or violence or force to make somebody do something for you is coercion. That's word number 2 of the slide. Word number 3, unleashing. Control खत्म कर देना. Unleashing. डॉग्स के साथ लीश होती है उनको होल्ड करने के लिए, उनके कॉलर के साथ टाइड होती है. वो लीश क्या काम आती है? कंट्रोल करते हैं डॉग्स को उससे, है ना? सो अनलीश का मतलब टू मेक देम आउट ऑफ दैट रिस्ट्रेंट. उनको रिलीज करना रिस्ट्रेंट से इज अनलीशिंग. सो द फेलियर ऑफ द डॉग्स could unleash more fighting. It could actually open up a Pandora of more fighting. It could release more fighting. It could lead to more fighting. That's coercion is forcefully. Absolutely correct, Roosters. Coercion has to be forcefully. मन से कोई काम नहीं होगा यहाँ, force से ही करवाओगे. ठीक है? So that's coercion. So unleashing किसी पे कोई कंट्रोल खत्म कर देना, रिलीज करना, that is unleashing powers, opening up with all the powers that you have. Last word of the slide, dystopian. ये वर्ड हम इतनी बार देखेंगे न्यूज़पेपर्स में. If you read the newspapers editorials regularly, यूटोपियन डिस्टोपियन, ये दोनों वर्ड्स इतने फ्रीक्वेंटली आते हैं. इफ यू रीड पैसेजेस रेगुलरली, रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन आप सॉल्व करते हो रेगुलरली, यू वुड फाइंड दिस वर्ड. यूटोपियन सोसाइटी कौन सी थी? डू यू रिमेंबर? वी डिड दिस इन आवर लास्ट क्लास एज वेल. अ यूटोपियन सोसाइटी इज अ परफेक्ट सोसाइटी. सब कुछ बहुत अच्छा है. सोचो, इमेजिन अ सोसाइटी वेयर यू एंड आई आर नॉट सफरिंग, देयर इज नो sickness and there's only health and everybody has a lot of money and everybody is happy, no hatred. That's a utopian society. A dystopian society, that's the favorite of George Orwell. Okay, so 1984 पढ़ा आप लोगों ने? अच्छा, आपने जॉर्ज ऑर्वेल की कोई भी बुक पढ़ी? Anyone? कोई भी बुक पढ़ी है जॉर्ज ऑर्वेल की? Anyone? No? Nobody? 1984, Animal Farm? नहीं? Dystopian जॉर्ज ऑर्वेल का फेवरेट वर्ड है. 1984 is based on the idea of a dystopian world. A dystopian world is a world that's full of suffering, जहां हर कोई सफर कर रहा है. That's a dystopian world. Okay? तो अब चलो, इसी नोट पे आपको एक चीज बताती हूँ. टाइम है अगर आपके पास. I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't know आप में से कितने लोग जॉब्स पे जा रहे हैं. I don't know if you guys are working somewhere or you're in college. I don't know you guys. Possibly when we meet more often, I would know you more. If you have time, do read 1984 or Animal Farm by George Orwell. छोटी छोटी बुक्स हैं, सिंपल बुक्स है, but बहुत कुछ hidden है. A lot to infer there. Okay, so you could read that. I'm sure you're going to love that. 1984 is basically based on a dystopian world. Dystopian world is a world that's full of suffering, जहां कोई भी खुश नहीं है. That's dystopian. So dystopian future for a society bereft of reason. जिस सोसाइटी में रीजन नहीं होगा, वो सोसाइटी एक dystopian future रखती है. Okay, so a society that has a dystopian future, a society that doesn't have any reason, that does not have any reason to do something, will always be a dystopian one where everybody would be suffering. Slide number 1. Take a quick screenshot for you to revise this. And before I move ahead, do you remember I always ask for Guru Dakshinas from you? I'm your Guru. I'm trying to teach you something. You pay me my Guru Dakshina by liking the session and sharing the session. आप में से कोई share नहीं करता है session. क्यों नहीं करता है? You don't know other people who are studying? If you know them, please share it with them. Please tell them that Alpa ma'am is doing a brilliant job and you should also come live for her classes. Do me this little favor. Share, like, subscribe. Okay, moving to slide number 2. Totalitarian. Okay, understand this carefully. I would like to know your opinions here. I have roughly 14 people live. I'd like to know 14 viewpoints here. थोड़ा बात करते ना तो आपके मेरे लिए दोनों के लिए इंटरेस्टिंग होती है क्लास. Totalitarian is a form of governance जहां total control government के पास होता है. The total control is with the government. What do you think? Is that a good form of governance or a bad form of governance? And give me an example of a country that possibly has a totalitarian form of government. What do you think? Is that a good form of governance or bad? And give me an example of a country that has a totalitarian form of governance. Let me see. What do you guys think? ये समझोगे तो आर्टिकल बहुत अच्छे से समझ में आएगा. भाई क्यों इतनी कंजूसी है? Hi Ajinkya. What are you saving the likes for? Where will you take them? Give it to somebody else. Like my video right now. Don't save them for anyone. And now tell me, comment as well. Don't save your letters. Tell me, if a totalitarian form of government, that means the entire control is with the government. Is it a good form of governance or a bad according to you? And give me an example of a country that's a totalitarian, that has a totalitarian. Oh, that certainly is bad, Tushar. Certainly. Who would love to give total control to the governance? फिर तो हमारे rights और duties का क्या हुआ? Duties ही रह जाएंगे, rights कहाँ रहेंगे हमारे? Give me an example of a country that has a totalitarian form of governance. Anyone? Of course, nobody would want a totalitarian form of governance. We would want our rights to be established. If the entire right is with the government, who would love that? But give me an example of a country, anyone? Can I say North Korea is a totalitarian form of governance? Some people may believe China also is a totalitarian. Yeah, nerve music, I was about to say that. But remember, it's more of a communist and lesser of a totalitarian. Totalitarian might be the ideology. More likely, North Korea is a better example for a totalitarian one. Okay? Agreed? So, China, आपके दिमाग में आ सकता है because our country doesn't hold really good relations with China. So, you might think कि China हमारा enemy है, सब कुछ control करना चाहता है, but it's more of a communist. North Korea is a better example. Okay, so totalitarian is a form of government that is a dictatorial form of government that requires complete control in its hands. The article that I'm going to give you today, it's a brilliant one. You're going to love reading that. Propaganda. आपको लग रहा है ना political article है क्या मैम? Totalitarian आ गया, propaganda आ गया. Is it a political article? No, my child. It's not a political one. So, propaganda is basically spreading misinformation to create something. Can I say Donald Trump's victory was propaganda according to some people? Not according to me. Don't consider my viewpoints here. Can I say Donald Trump's victory was a propaganda? Because if you read newspapers, you would see many articles coming about how Facebook played and social media played an important role with spreading articles of the good deeds Donald Trump had done. Otherwise, his victory was very unlikely. So, propaganda is basically spreading biased or misleading people with wrong information, providing them with this. That's propaganda, okay? Now, next one, oligarchy. Oligarchy is also a form of governance where only a few people come to the power again and again. Okay? Totalitarian से related है क्या? Related है, same नहीं है. Let's break the word. Archy, like monarchy. So, archy means rule. Rule of a small group of people again and again coming to power. They may not have absolute power. If they have absolute power, they would become totalitarian. They may not have absolute power. But वही लोग बार-बार power में आते रहते हैं. That's oligarchy. जैसे चलो मैं बोलूंगी नहीं कुछ नहीं तो फिर तुम मुझे accuse करोगे मैम political point of view दे देती है. Last word of the slide, unprecedented. कभी देखा नहीं, कभी सुना नहीं. Never seen before, never known before. Something that we've seen for the first time is unprecedented. Okay, so unknown, never occurred before that is unprecedented. Slide number 2, very quick screenshot everyone. Okay, let's move on to the third slide and the last slide. Menace. Dennis the Menace. I'm sure you've seen the cartoon. There was a strip that used to come in the newspapers. So Dennis the Menace. Why would people call him a menace? Because he was so chaotic and he would disturb everyone. Okay, that's one meaning of a menace. The other is anything that's a threat or a danger to people, to society. That's a menace. Can I say corruption is a menace to the society? Yes, it's a threat or a danger to the society. Africa's elephants are still menaced by poaching. They are in threat because of poaching, or they are in danger because of poaching. So anything that's a threat or a danger is a menace. Hi Vaibhav, good to see you. Muster. Vaibhav, vocabulary कर रहे हैं. आगे article करेंगे. जल्दी vocabulary कर लो साथ में. So muster is to collect. Muster all your courage. No. Muster all your generosity and please reply to the things that I'm asking you. Okay. Muster is collect, gather. Okay. So the city council was unable to muster enough votes. They could not collect enough votes to get a victory. Muster is collection or gathering or assembling. Next word is palpable. Palpable is something There are two meanings. Understand both the meanings carefully, everyone. So one meaning is when there's something in your head, but it's so clear in your head that you feel as if you can almost touch it or feel it. It's almost tangible in front of you. That's one. It can be an imaginary thing or anything that's in a tangible form that can be touched or felt is something that's palpable. Okay, so if I get hurt here and there's a basically if I touch and try to feel that, you would see a bump here. That's a palpable one. Okay, so a palpable bump at the bridge of the nose here, you can almost touch and feel that. Anything that's tangible is palpable. Next word, feckleness. Feckleness is worthless, no value, irresponsible, a behavior that's uncalled for is feckleness. So, feckleness, maneuver that could only serve to strengthen the enemy, a feckleness maneuver. That is an uncalled for, an irresponsible, a useless behavior is feckleness. And the last word that we have is antipathy. The root word is path. Path means to feel. Sympathy, to feel sad for somebody. Apathy, to feel nothing. Antipathy, hatred to somebody is antipathy. So aversion, hatred, disliking is antipathy. His fundamental antipathy to capitalism, he possibly hated capitalism. He was there was an aversion to capitalism here. Okay, so slide number 3, take a very quick screenshot. Screenshot ले लिया, thumbs up भेज दो जल्दी से. फिर चलेंगे article पे. We'll read that the articles in detail. Ready, everyone? Here we go. But before we start, if you're targeting CAT 2022, a comprehensive program course has been launched. What do you get in the course? You get 135 plus live sessions by IIM alumni, all our serial 99 percentile holders. You get more than 90 topics covered up in 3 sessions per subject topic, high definition recorded videos, full length mock tests, and many, many more things. Join before it's too late. Speak to your counselors on this number. Enroll yourself at the earliest if this examination and this year is your target. I shall see you in the classes very, very soon. Let's understand the word in detail. The article is named as Panopticonism. Difficult word, बड़ा लंबा word है. सुनने में भी इतना difficult लग रहा है, बोलने में भी इतना difficult लग रहा है, meaning कितना difficult होगा, बिल्कुल difficult नहीं है. सबसे पहले समझो what is a panopticon. Let's break the word. Pan, which means all. Panoramic picture लेते हो? What do you do in a panoramic picture? You cover up all the sides. Pan India coverage means the entire country is covered up. Pan means all. Optic. What does optic mean? To see. Okay. So a panopticon basically is a type of a jail surveillance. Okay. So for example, look at this. Here I have all the wards, rather the cells where the jail inmates are kept. Okay. And then here we have a dome. A panopticon is a kind of supervision, a surveillance where the inmates of the jail cannot see. हिंदी में भी समझाऊंगी, पहले इंग्लिश में समझो. These inmates, they cannot see, but उनको ये पता है कि यहाँ एक गार्ड बैठा सबको देख रहा है. But these inmates, they cannot see the guard. So to see everyone is panopticon. That was the kind of cell, a jail. Panopticonism is a philosophy. What does the philosophy say? ये हम अपने आप समझेंगे जब हम article पढ़ेंगे. So let's read the article. Let's try to understand in detail what the article tells us about. So introduced by the English philosopher and architect Jeremy Bentham, the panopticon was a circular building with cells built into its circular walls. मतलब जेल के cells बने हुए थे जहां कैदियों को रखा था, inmates को रखा था, and there was an observational tower at the center. Okay, so the observational tower was supposed to supervise these inmates. A guard could observe every move of the prisoner in each cell from the observational tower. But because these inmates could not see the guard, was the guard present there all the time? You tell me that. It's like CCTV, yes. The prisoners could not see the guard. Was the guard present there all the time? What do you think? Guard क्या हमेशा present होगा वहां? बताओ जल्दी जल्दी. What do you think? Would the guard be present there all the time? क्या वो वहां बैठे बैठे देखता रहेगा? Because the guard was hidden. What do you think? बोलो बच्चे. No. The guard would not necessarily. बिल्कुल correct खुशबू. Not necessarily. Because the prisoners could not see the guard. So, the idea of a panopticon was कि in inmates के मन में there's a fear that we are being watched. Even if there's nobody watching them because they could not see the guard anytime. The prisoners in turn could see the tower, but they could not see anything inside it on account of the difference in height as well as shutters and blinds. They could not see anybody. But there was always a threat in their mind that we are being observed. We have to behave our best. The ambiguity about whether or not they were being observed forced the prisoners to conduct themselves inside the cell with the assumption that the guards could be observing them at any point of time. You behave yourself. The guard is watching you. Exactly. तो अब गार्ड इज वॉचिंग. कोई फिलॉसफी दिख रही है इधर? देखते हैं अभी फिलॉसफी क्या है. दिस वॉज द परफेक्ट आइडिया ऑफ अ प्रिजन. यू कुड सेव मनी, you could save time, you could save resources, yet you could straighten up the prisoners. And according to Bentham, this was the perfect idea of a prison. It was visible yet unverifiable. You could not verify if the guard is there or not. He believed that the fear of constant surveillance could help bring order and discipline. सब कुछ ठीक होगा अगर आपको लगता है कोई आपको ऑब्जर्व कर रहा है. जैसे सीसीटीवी कैमरास. एग्जाम में बैठे हो, एग्जाम दे रहे हो, you know there's a CCTV camera watching you. Will you cheat? Very likely you would not. You would not put your examination on stake by cheating. So, Foucault takes the architectural structure and transforms it into a philosophical theory. Now let's understand what is the philosophical theory here. It helps us understand how the idea of surveillance and power relationship between individuals and systems of social control changed post-panopticon. Individuals, you and I, systems of social control. आप क्या कर रहे हो? क्या सही कर रहे हो? मैं क्या कर रही हूँ? क्या मैं सही कर रही हूँ? क्या हमको कोई सुपरवाइज कर रहा है? What do you think? Is anyone supervising us? Let me see if you got the philosophy here. If you didn't, I'll explain that. But do you think anyone's watching us? Some big brother, big boss watching us. Do you think anyone's watching us? कोई दिल्ली में बैठा हुआ? Do you think anyone's watching us? What do you think? Do you get the theory here? Anyone? I'd like to know your answers. Do you think anyone's watching us? You and I. We're not prisoners. We are individuals in the society. Who do you think is watching us? Yes, might be the big brother is watching us. एक बात बताओ, when you try to buy something and you don't buy it, do you see the ads coming at other platforms? Do you see BYJU'S ad coming at multiple platforms? Yeah. Why does that happen? Because somebody is watching you. Somebody captured what you're doing. Everything is captured. Everything is being watched upon. आप कहाँ जा रहे हो? Google records that. आप क्या खरीद रहे हो? The cookies record that. What are you sending? What are you, apart from WhatsApp, because that has end-to-end encryption, everything else is being watched upon. Do you remember the Pegasus software? Should I tell you about that? Do you remember Pegasus software? पता है नहीं पता है बता दो तो मैं आपको उसका brief बताती हूँ. Do you remember the Pegasus software? Yes? Do you get the philosophy here? Please tell me, yes or no? I assume you get the philosophy. Let's move on. So, an advocate of individual freedom, he believed that visibility was a trap. कोई तो देख रहा है तुम्हें. Somebody is watching you. It's a trap. The prisoners were in a trap that the supervisor is watching us. And that would coerce people into disciplining themselves and behaving in a way that pleased the systems. जैसा बिग बॉस चाहता है वैसा करना पड़ेगा तुम्हें. जैसा बिग ब्रदर चाहता है वैसा तुम्हें करना पड़ेगा. You'll have to do that. जैसी गवर्नमेंट चाहती है वैसा तुम्हें बिहेव करना पड़ेगा. जैसा वो सुपरवाइजर चाहता है तुम्हें वैसा बिहेव करना पड़ेगा. It's a trap. You have to behave in the way the authority wants you to. Examiner जैसा चाहता है तुम्हें वैसा बिहेव करना पड़ेगा. Okay? Vaibhav, I'll tell you. थोड़ा सा ये पैराग्राफ पढ़ लो, then I'll tell you exactly ये Pegasus का सॉफ्टवेयर का कंसेप्ट कैसे लिंक होता है इसके साथ. Okay? So, Foucault explains how such invisible observation helps systems of control beyond the prison structure. If invisible surveillance features are installed in society, we can't see this in surveillance. People would self-regulate themselves. उनको ठीक करने का need नहीं है. They would straighten up themselves, assuming that they are being constantly observed even when there is no one observing them. Because we think, oh, the government is watching me, the police is watching me, the CBI is watching me. I would not do something that's uncalled for. This makes panoptic surveillance more economical and efficient. Of course, you don't have to spend so much money. You don't have to reach everyone. तुम गलत कर रहे हो. You don't have to straighten them up. It produces outcomes desired by the system of control. How the authority wants you to behave, you would behave that way. Without actually being violent, without using violence, without forcing them. You psychologically force them. There's a fear of being watched. People would behave in a manner. This is a one-way attainment of information, which can be further used to control citizens. I'll give you now the example of the Pegasus software. So Pegasus software is an Israeli software, and this software was developed in Israel, and this software is supposed to be sold only and only to governments throughout the world. What does this software do? This software can be used by governments to hack any phone, record any phone location, tracking any calls that you have without even knowing that you are being tracked. And this can be purchased only and only by a government. Now, recently, a lot of data leaked outside where we saw a lot of people in India are being tracked by this Pegasus software. Okay. Now, this Pegasus software tracked a lot of people in India, and since it can be purchased only and only by the government, who would have done that? Now, the government says we did not purchase it. Rather, the government says we don't know who did it. They don't say we did it or not, did not do it. They say we don't know who did it. But this can be purchased only by the government. The case is still pending. We don't know who did it and how are we being tracked. But such a software can be an example of the Panopticonism, that we are being supervised constantly. And can we have a fear in our minds, that we have to straighten up and behave in a specific manner that the government or the authority wants us to behave in? Yes, that's the whole idea of the Pegasus software here. Okay, I hope you understand this. In 1984, the novel that I referred to by George Orwell, it's a remarkable book. that visualizes a panoptic surveillance state. This book, imagine, itni purani book, kab likhi hui thi? George Orwell is not even alive anymore. Okay, so he wrote a book about, and he was the one introducing the phrase Big Brother, not these series, these crappy series that come on TV like Big Boss and Big Brother. He was the one introducing Big Brother. You tell me, who is he referring to by Big Brother? Read the sentence and tell me किसके लिए used है ये Big Brother इनकी story में. So story क्या थी? 1984 George Orwell actually visualizes a panoptic surveillance state, a country where everything is being supervised. A plot revolves around Winston Smith and the way he looks at the dystopian society he lives in. Everyone is suffering in the society. Through the book, the author mentions the Big Brother who is always watching and how citizens in the fictional totalitarian state, it's a totalitarian state, the Big Brother is always watching and they're living in a virtual prison, not physical prison, but a virtual prison because they are being constantly watched and controlled by technology and propaganda. Who do you think is the Big Brother here? Who do you think is the Big Brother? किसको रेफर कर रहा है ये? कौन है यहाँ बिग ब्रदर? Who is the Big Brother here in 1984? Who do you think is he referring to? The government. Yes, Khushbu, for sure the government. The Big Brother is used for the government. Correct. The government is watching. Okay? So government देख रही है, तुमको behave करना है. People seem hesitant to talk or even think against the oligarchy. वही लोग बार-बार power में आ रहे थे. The same set of people, and the citizens were scared. Not because they see a policeman or a guard watching over them, but because the fear was there that there was somebody spying on them. It could be anybody. Imagine the spy could even be your own child. इतना डर कि आपका खुद का बच्चा आप पे स्पाई कर रहा था या कर सकता था. So much fear was instilled in the mind of the citizens because the Big Brother was watching. Foucault believed that Panopticonism would spread and have unprecedented consequences. Unprecedented, something that we've never seen before. Unprecedented consequences in societies as systems of control would make it their benefit at the cost of individual freedom. Systems का benefit, authority का benefit, किस cost पे? आपकी और मेरी freedom के cost पे. We are not free to say what we want, to do what we want, because the authority is watching us all the times. As predicted by Foucault, Panopticonism has spread in unexpected ways in our society. Now let's see, apart from the government actually controlling us, is there any other way of Panopticonism visible? Yes, the present day CCTV camera is a perfect example. I'll tell you something. I have a daughter, and while I'm teaching, there's a nanny who takes care of her, okay? And there's a camera that I have installed, a CCTV, which does not work. Why did I install that? I installed that so that she constantly has a fear in her mind that she's being watched. So while I'm in my classes, the camera is on. That is an example, a perfect example of Panopticonism. That is the CCTV camera, a perfect example of how theory works, with people being cautious about how they behave, irrespective of whether the camera is functional or not functional. It, for instance, inculcates more fear among students writing an exam. The same example, you would be scared if there is a camera. Working or not, you would not know that. But there is a camera watching you. And it would refrain you from cheating in the exam because invigilator है या नहीं है, camera तो है भैया, मुझे record हो रहा होगा. Psychologist Shoshana took the concept further with surveillance capitalism. You know a capitalistic society, right? Capitalistic society में क्या होता है? In a capitalistic society, the market is a free market, yeah? So basically, the same example that I've given you. Do you see BYJU'S ad at multiple places? You try to buy something. Abhi, whenever I open the Indian Express, the pictures of fruits, they fill up my page because I had tried to buy some fruits a few days back from a website. I wanted to buy Alfonso mangoes because where I stay there are no Alfonso mangoes. It keeps sending me pictures of Alfonso mangoes throughout the day when I read the Indian Express or when I try to make such classes, because I have such classes on other platforms as well every day. So that is surveillance capitalism, keeping a track of everything that you're doing. It's a system of surveillance that was extended to marketing. Computers and mobile phones become a medium of monitoring one's actions. आप क्या कर रहे हो सब record होता है. An individual's performance at workplace is recorded and monitored through their keystrokes. Yes, I'm sure a lot of you engineers have seen that. Governments track our phones and keep a record of our biometrics in the name of preventing terrorism. I will not talk about that. That's very political. As a marketing strategy, social media platforms tap into our search histories. The cookies will be saved. Do you agree or not? कितनी बार click किया है कितनी website में? Thousands of times, है ना? Understand our interest and squeeze in advertisements on our social media platforms. You know what? I had recorded an ad for BYJU'S exam prep for the undergraduate kids, and I kept getting the ad recorded by myself that I had to enroll for the programs, because obviously I had to watch some videos on our channel on the YouTube, and every time I went on YouTube, I used to get my own ads back. That's what saving cookies does. This sort of monitoring and data collection is analogous to the panopticon. Yes, there's an analogy. This form of monitoring is similar to the panopticon. Now, do you see the relationship between panopticon and this? Absolutely, they sell your information. They do. So, you see the analogy now, the relationship between this kind of monitoring and the panopticon, because it's a one-way information avenue. We don't receive anything, we only give information. But the system of power uses technology to monitor us, even control our likes and dislikes. और इसी से Facebook का whistleblower का केस सामने आता है. Do you remember the whistleblowers case? I had told you about that in the last class. Do you remember how a whistleblower, an ex-employee of Facebook, revealed something about Facebook? Do you remember that? Yes or no? Don't? क्या बात कर रहे हो यार, इतनी लंबी कहानी सुनाई थी. You don't remember that? I'll not tell you that again. So, though the act of giving our fingerprints for Aadhaar, इसको हम छोड़ देते हैं, ये political हो जाता है थोड़ा सा ना. This is not important. The panopticon thus comes alive through a new concept of new technologies and innovations that can control our freedom in any manner, be it capitalism, be it through governance, be it in an examination hall where you're sitting. So, you get the gist of the passage? That was the article. Your homework is to write down the tone plus the summary of this article and the next one as well that we do under my video in the comment section. I'm going to check each one of that, okay? That was the first article. Ready to move to the next article, everyone? Chale next article pe? Yes, no, quickly? A very good one. So this article was from the Hindu. The next article is from the Guardian that I bought. If you read newspapers, do you remember the IPCC report? Do you remember this report? The IPCC? Do you remember the Glasgow meet? Do you remember the COP26 countries coming together? Do you remember any one of these? So IPCC report is basically a report that says the world is ending if you don't control the climate right now. It's warming up. It's constantly warming up. And if you don't control this global warming, the earth will very, very soon end. It's beyond your expectation. That's exactly global warming is what we discuss at the COP26 meets. The last meet happened at Glasgow. So that was the Glasgow meet. Okay? Ki global warming बढ़ रही है, इसको control कर लो. IPCC is an alarming report. अब This article, no. This article is from the New York Times. Sorry. It's not from the Guardian. It's from the New York Times. It says climate change. बहुत कर लिया climate change. इंडिया ने अपना टारगेट क्या बनाया याद है? 2070 तक हम नेट जीरो एमिशन तक आ जाएंगे. क्वेश्चंस ले लूं? चलो नेक्स्ट टाइम से क्वेश्चंस ले लूंगी रूस्टर्स. ठीक है. अभी एनीवे मेरी नंबर ऑफ क्लासेस की फ्रीक्वेंसी इट वुड इंक्रीज. We would probably meet thrice a week at least. I'll try to increase that even more. So I'd see you very, very often then. Very likely in the morning as well. We haven't decided the timing yet. We're still in the process. So India का target था that 2070 तक we would reach a net zero emission. Net zero emission is जितना हम contribute कर रहे हैं उतना ही हम environment को clean भी कर रहे हैं. In terms of global warming, okay? So that's our target. But New York Times says enough of climate change. You're forgetting that there's air pollution that's killing us right now. You've forgotten that. While you guys were in your school, I'm sure you had read about how air pollution is so bad, at least while I was. And I am at least a good 20 years older than you guys are. जब मैं स्कूल में थी तब at least air pollution bad था. Global warming तब इतना important नहीं था. These days, global warming, climate change is what we're talking about. Glaciers melt हो रहे हैं, ice sheet melt हो रही है, गर्मी बढ़ रही है, sea level rise हो रहा है. The author says, enough of that. Why are you forgetting that there's air pollution that's going to kill us even before climate change does? Don't deviate from this. This article focuses on that. Okay, got that, Roosters? I'll try to do that. So, in the early weeks of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, the doctors noticed a surprising silver lining. The Americans were having fewer heart attacks. When it was COVID, there was no silver lining. Everybody was suffering. Everybody was unhappy. I genuinely thought that the world is going to end. ये खत्म होने वाला है world. I lost people in my lives. I lost close family, friends. I'm sure you've heard so many stories about that. Everybody thought the world is going to end. But there was a silver lining. There were fewer heart attacks. Why were there fewer heart attacks? One likely reason is that the people were inhaling less air pollution. Why less air pollution? There was either a curfew, a night curfew, a day curfew, or an entire lockdown. People did not go to their offices, no cars on the road, lesser of air pollution, no factories functioning. And since less air pollution, they had lesser heart attacks. Millions of workers were staying home instead of going to work, driving to work. Americans were suddenly burning a lot less gas because they use gas for driving, right? And across the country, the researchers found that the regions with larger drops in pollution also had larger drops in heart attacks. So if the air pollution improved, the health of the people improved as well. That means air pollution actually is a bigger problem right now. The menace of air pollution doesn't command public attention as it did in 1960s. हाँ, उस time पे air pollution एक bigger problem था. 1980s में भी, while I was in my school, तब भी air pollution एक bigger problem था. But today it's not a bigger problem. The bigger problem is the climate change. But evidence has piled up in recent years that the real progress the US has made in reducing air pollution isn't nearly good enough. No, they haven't made any progress. They are focusing on the IPCC report, the Glasgow meet, the COP26 meets. They aren't focusing on air pollution. जितना expected था उससे बहुत कम improvement है. Air pollution is a lot deadlier than we previously understood. In particular, studies like the analysis of heart attacks during the pandemic show that the concentration of air pollution currently permitted by federal policy, the current pollution is way too high than what is being permitted by the government. We cannot let that happen. So this article is a US based one, of course, but we can look at it from the same perspective as India's. India में भी वही pollution है जहाँ जो rather ज़्यादा है जो US में. In an assessment of recent research, the WHO said the single largest environmental threat to human health and well-being is air pollution and not climate change. It's the single largest environmental threat. Now can we shift our focus from the climate change to air pollution? We rather should. Yes. What happens next? The low quality of air that we breathe should be. आप में से कितने लोग दिल्ली से हैं? How many of you are from Delhi? when I talk about air pollution, I can't miss talking about Delhi. How many of you are from Delhi or live in Delhi right now? I'd like to know that. I'd like to sympathize with the city that you're living in. I've lived in Delhi for good 5 years. I'd like to know how many of you stay in Delhi, are in Delhi. None? Nobody? Good riddance. You're lucky you don't stay there. You're lucky at least you don't stay in Delhi in winters. It's smog. It's a furnace that you can't escape unless and until you leave that place. So, the low quality of air that we breathe should be regarded as a crisis, more important crisis than the climate change is. It also presents an opportunity. How can the low quality air present as an opportunity? Let's understand that. Low quality air cannot be an opportunity. How can that be? Let's see. The existential threat of climate change has come to dominate debates. Everybody is debating about climate change. Glasgow meet में यही था. India, तुमने क्या decide किया? तुम्हारा क्या target है? And India kept saying, why will I decide the target? USA, you tell me your target. What are you doing? You are the one contributing to this pollution, to this climate change. You first decide and you better pay me. India said, तुम मुझे पैसा दो ये डील करने के लिए क्लाइमेट चेंज मैं अकेले नहीं कर सकता हूं तुम कंट्रीब्यूटर हो सबसे बड़े. Everybody was debating about who is more responsible for the climate change and environmental regulation. That's exactly what happened at the Glasgow meet. Everybody started blaming each other. India blamed USA blamed India कि तुम करो पहले. Proposals to curb emissions, once presented as public health measures, are now billed as efforts to limit global warming. So we are focusing on global warming. But this is an opportunity. How is that an opportunity? Let's understand that. People are arguing about climate change. They are not focusing on the low quality of air. Yet it is an opportunity because the solution to both are the same. The solution to climate change, the solution to poor air quality. Both are the same. Burn less fossil fuel. Use less petrol, less diesel, less gas. Burn less fossil fuel. Pollution भी कम होगा, climate change भी control लगा. That shouldn't happen very likely. Prathamesh, why do you ask that, my child? That isn't very likely. Though if it happens again, we'll keep you updated about that. Okay, so the solution is the same in both the cases. We need to stop burning fossil fuels, preferably yesterday. We should have. But there is a cause to wonder whether a greater focus on immediate dangers posed by air pollution rather than the more distant specter of global warming might help to muster necessary support for changes that are going to be expensive and disruptive. So if we don't control air pollution, it's going to be expensive for us. It has to be disruptive for the environment. Yeah, exactly, Roosters. That's what I believe in. Did you not fill out the form, Prathamesh? Did you miss out on it? Looks like that. I don't think that's going to be extended anymore. We can just hope if it does, we'll keep you updated about that. Just make sure you are regular with the updates on our channel. Okay? But ask him to fill out other forms if he hasn't filled the CET form. There are many other colleges he can apply for. There are many reasons. Back to the article, everyone. There are many reasons the world is failing to respond adequately to climate change. But surely one factor is that global effort to close the hole in the ozone layer in 1980s, जो effort हम करते थे, आज हम वो effort कर ही नहीं रहे हैं. We're not actually prioritizing air pollution so much. And we know it's very dangerous. We have to prioritize it today. Some effects of climate change already are palpable. We can see the effects of climate change, of course. We can see the glaciers melting, the ice sheet melting. We can see the sea level rising, but the worst is still in the future. Warnings about climate change are predictions. And even if they are taken seriously, people may be indifferent to the quality of life in 2100. See, the idea is, if I compare the climate change to the air pollution, climate change is what might impact my grandchildren. I would say, why am I concerned about my grandchildren? I'm living my life happily. I'll take a long drive. I'll burn all the gas that I have. Why am I concerned about my grandchildren? Air pollution, yes, that impacts me right now. I might have a heart attack if I breathe in a lot of toxic air. So people are not concerned about climate change as much as they should be concerned or are concerned about air pollution. If you tell them air pollution will have immediate impacts on you, people might be more motivated to save their own lives because they're not concerned about their grandchildren at all. Yes? So, in the face of this is only a target on Biden, it says, Biden, you did not do anything. You did not do anything for air pollution. So, I don't think that's necessary. We need to, as Indians, we need to make sure that air pollution is lesser and lesser. Now, my children, what your homework is, you have to comment under my video with the summary and the tone of each article. I'm going to be checking each of them because summary will enable you to answer a lot of inference questions, tone questions, main idea, gist, structure of the passage. All of these questions are based on the summary based question. Make sure you answer these. Do them right away today after the class ends. Don't delay that. Otherwise, you'll never do that. I'll be checking them personally, each one of it. So that's what your homework is. Like my video if you haven't done that yet. Comment under my video if you liked it, if you appreciate this, all the hard work that I put in. Share the video to all the people that you know who are preparing for any of the MBA entrance examinations. Subscribe to the channel right now. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, and download our app right now. I shall see you next Wednesday, everybody. Have a very good night. I hope you had a lovely learning time with me. God bless all of you and see you soon. Bye, everyone.